The forest always seemed alive at night, whispering secrets only the wind could understand. Alara moved through the underbrush with quiet steps, her dark hair brushing the mist that curled around the ancient oaks. The villagers called her cursed. After her mate died, their fear had grown into whispers and whispers into tales of doom. Children hid from her gaze, and even the elders shook their heads when she passed. Yet she walked on, carrying grief heavier than any pack could bear. Her small cottage, built of stone and moss, stood on the edge of the forest, overlooking a silver river that mirrored the moon. Inside, the walls held memories, framed sketches of her mate, a locket that still smelled faintly of him, and the quiet hum of a life interrupted. Alara often sat by the fire, staring into the flames, listening to the night. She spoke sometimes to shadows, to the wind, and to the memories that would not leave. Tonight, though, the air was different. There was a presence, something that made the forest's whispers sharper, colder yet somehow familiar. Alara paused mid-step, listening. A low rumble echoed through the trees, not thunder, but something alive, moving with purpose. The villagers had told her of the alpha packs that roamed the deep forests beyond. Packs of 20 or more with eyes that glowed like embers in the night. She had never seen one up close, and part of her had hoped she never would. But now her heart hammered with something more than fear, something she could not name. From the shadows they emerged. Wolves, 25 strong, their fur as dark as midnight, moving silently yet with power that made the trees tremble. At their center, taller than any wolf, walked a man. His presence was commanding, his shoulders broad, his eyes a piercing silver that seemed to look right through her. Alara felt her breath catch. She had heard tales of alphas, of kings among wolves, but none had ever felt so inevitable. "I am Kalen," the man said, his voice calm but sharp, carrying authority that demanded attention. "I have come for her." His gaze swept the forest floor until it landed on Alara. "You, woman, the one they call cursed." Ilara's hand went to her chest, where her heart thumped against ribs that felt too fragile to contain it. I am no one," she whispered. The wind carried her voice to the wolves, and they paused, tilting their heads, listening. "Your mate is dead." "I know," Kalen said, his tone softening slightly as if he understood the weight she carried. "But grief does not have to be your cage. You belong with us now, if you will accept it." Belong. The word felt foreign, yet comforting, like a distant melody she had almost forgotten. But she shook her head. "I am cursed. I bring only misfortune." Kalen stepped closer, the ground vibrating with the rhythm of the wolves around him. "Cursed?" he repeated, a shadow of amusement in his voice. "No, you are marked by sorrow, but sorrow is not a curse. It is strength hidden beneath pain." Ilara's eyes filled with tears, her knees weakening. She had spent months believing herself doomed, and now a stranger, a king of wolves, spoke to her as if he could see the truth inside. The tension was thick. The forest seemed to hold its breath. Wolves circled, growling lowly, testing boundaries, yet their loyalty was clear. They waited for Kalen's command. Alara felt both fear and awe. Every instinct told her to run, to hide, to vanish into the shadows of her grief, yet something rooted her to the spot. "Why me?" she asked, voice barely a whisper. "Why come for someone who is broken?" Kalen's gaze softened, and for the first time, the stoic alpha allowed a glimpse of his own sorrow. "Because I see what you do not. You are not broken. You are waiting to rise, to lead, to love again. I was once a widower like you, and I know the weight of loss. I know how it can chain a soul. I can help you break those chains." Alara trembled. His words were both comfort and a challenge. Could she leave the ruins of her past and trust another? Could she follow a man whose strength dwarfed hers, whose wolves surrounded them like a living wall of shadow and power? Suddenly, a figure appeared at the edge of the clearing, a rival alpha, smaller in number but bold, his eyes flashing with cunning. He had heard the whispers too, and he wanted to claim her before Kalen could. "You think you can just take her?" the rival alpha snarled. His voice cut through the night, sharp as a knife. "She is ours by the old law." Kalen's eyes narrowed, and the ground seemed to hum beneath his feet. The wolves growled in unison, circling the intruder, their teeth glinting under the moonlight. "She is no one's pawn," Kalen said, voice steady and cold. "She will choose her path, and I will protect her from anyone who dares claim her against her will." Alara's breath caught. She had never imagined anyone would defend her, let alone like this, with strength, with fire, with certainty. She realized in that moment that perhaps the villagers had been wrong. Perhaps she was not cursed. Perhaps she was just waiting for someone who could see her as she truly was. The rival alpha lunged and Kaelin moved like a shadow, faster than the eye could follow. The wolves responded in perfect harmony, their bodies weaving a living barrier around their king and the woman they were sworn to protect. The rival fell back snarling, retreating into the forest, leaving only whispers behind. Alara exhaled, trembling, yet something deep inside her shifted. She had felt the taste of fear, yes, but also the pull of protection, of belonging, of something more than grief. She looked at Kaelin, and for the first time in months her heart felt something other than sorrow. Kaelin extended a hand, his eyes never leaving hers. "Come with me," he said. "Stay with us tonight. See what it means to be part of a pack that honors strength and heart alike." Alara hesitated. The forest, the cottage, the memories of her lost mate, everything she had known, called her back. Yet the longing she felt, the recognition of another soul scarred by loss, rooted her to the spot. Slowly, trembling but determined, she took his hand. As she stepped forward, the wolves parted, forming a path. She felt their eyes on her, judging, assessing, yet not with malice. They waited for her to claim her place among them. The wind rustled through the trees, and for a moment, she thought she heard her lost mate's voice on it. A soft whisper of caution. Alara swallowed hard, the fire in her chest mingling with fear and hope. She knew she could not turn back now. The night carried her forward, through the mist and the shadows, into a world that had been waiting for her all along. The moon rose high, silver and cold, casting light on the pack, moving like shadows across the forest floor. Kaelin walked beside her, silent yet present, a steadying force against the storm of her heart. She felt the weight of the past loosening its grip, replaced by a fragile spark of trust. Yet, as they moved deeper into the forest, a distant howl echoed, a warning, a promise, a threat. Alara's pulse quickened. The night was far from over, and the forest still held secrets she had yet to uncover. She glanced at Kaelin. He did not falter, his gaze set forward, but she could feel the tension in his shoulders, the unspoken question hanging in the air. "Are you ready to truly leave the past behind?" Alara tightened her grip on his hand. For the first time, she allowed herself to believe she could. For the first time, she allowed herself to hope. And the wolves around them, 25 strong, moved as one, guardians of a bond yet to be fully formed. The forest whispered their names into the night. Alara, the woman once called cursed, and Kaelin, the widowed alpha who had returned to the living world of hearts and packs. And somewhere in the shadows, the wind carried the promise of trials, of danger, and of the beginning of a love that neither time nor sorrow could erase. The night stretched before them, infinite and full of possibility, and for the first time in her life, Alara stepped forward without fear. The forest had grown quiet after their night's journey, the mist curling around the trees like silver smoke. Alara walked beside Kaelin, her heart still pounding from the confrontation with the rival alpha. For the first time in months, she felt a strange sense of safety. The pack's presence was a living shield around them, their eyes glowing faintly in the moonlight. Yet she knew safety was only temporary in a world filled with hidden dangers and old magic. They reached Kaelin's stronghold as the first hints of dawn colored the sky. The fortress was carved into the side of a rocky cliff, its walls etched with runes that shimmered faintly with power. Wolves of all sizes moved with purpose, patrolling, playing, and keeping watch. Alara felt her breath catch. She had never seen anything so alive, so intertwined with both nature and magic. Kaelin led her to a small chamber overlooking the forest. Its windows were open to the wind, and inside the air smelled of pine, herbs, and warmth. "This will be your home while you stay with us," he said softly. "You will have space, guidance, and protection. But above all, you will have trust." Alara nodded, unsure if she could truly believe it. I don't know if I belong anywhere," she admitted. Kaelin turned to her, his silver eyes steady and honest. "You belong with those who see you as you are, not as a shadow of loss or fear. And I see you, Alara. I see the strength you hide beneath sorrow." For a moment, the room seemed to pulse with silence. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to trust him. And yet, the memory of her lost mate whispered caution into her ear. The first days in the stronghold were testing, though not in the ways she expected. Kaelin's wolves circled her, observing, nudging, even challenging her in small ways. They were fierce and loyal, yet their purpose was not to intimidate but to teach. Elara learned to move with them, to anticipate their instincts, and in doing so, she felt a subtle change in herself. A confidence she had thought lost forever. Kaelin watched silently, offering guidance when necessary, never overbearing yet always present. He allowed her to struggle, to fail, and then to rise again. Each time she succeeded, the bond between them grew stronger, threaded with respect, admiration, and an unspoken connection that neither dared name aloud. One evening, the forest darkened under heavy clouds and the distant howl of an unknown creature echoed through the trees. Alara's pulse quickened. "What was that?" she asked, glancing at Kaelin. He did not answer immediately. His gaze swept the forest, sharp and protective. "A warning," he finally said. "Something watches. Something old and cunning. We must remain vigilant." Despite the warning, Alara felt a spark of something new. Courage. She had faced fear before, alone and trembling. And yet here, beside Kaelin, she felt strength she hadn't known she possessed. She realized that her grief, her sorrow, and even the memory of her lost mate could coexist with new purpose. Days passed, and Alara's presence among the pack became natural. The wolves no longer circled her with doubt, but with recognition. Even Kaelin seemed to notice a subtle change. His shoulders relaxed around her, his smiles rare but genuine, and moments of quiet conversation between them became treasures. Then came the true test. Kaelin received word of a rival alpha, the one who had confronted them in the forest, plotting again to claim territory and challenge the widowed king. Elara felt fear rise inside her, yet it was tinged with determination. She had seen what she could do now, how her grief had transformed into something powerful, a quiet resilience, sharpened by loss and tempered by hope. The rival alpha struck at dawn, attacking with ferocity and cunning. Kaelin's pack moved as one, a wall of shadow and teeth, yet the enemy was strong. Elara felt the pull of something deep within herself, a power that had stirred since the night Kaelin first reached her. Her hands moved instinctively, guiding wolves, sensing danger before it appeared, and even striking with a precision that startled both the attackers and herself. Kaelin saw it too, his silver eyes widening in surprise and admiration. "Elara," he called, his voice steady despite the chaos. "Do not hold back." She didn't. For the first time, she allowed herself to act without fear, without the weight of cursed pressing her down. Her powers, subtle yet potent, shifted the tide of the battle. Wolves moved faster, stronger, more coordinated under her influence. The rival alpha fell back, realizing he could not prevail against a pack united not just by loyalty, but by the shared strength of two leaders, human and wolf alike. When the fight ended, the forest was silent except for the soft panting of wolves and the distant whisper of the wind through the trees. Kaelin approached her, his eyes reflecting pride, awe, and something else, something softer, tender. "You have shown me what I could not hope to see in another," he said. "You are no longer the woman they called cursed. You are strong, and you are part of this pack." Elara's chest swelled with emotion. Tears pricked her eyes, not of sorrow, but of release. I'm not cursed?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. "No," Kaelin said gently, taking her hand. "You were never cursed. You were marked by loss, yes, but now you are reborn through courage and trust. You are free." The forest seemed to breathe around them, as if acknowledging her transformation. Wolves padded silently nearby, their eyes soft with recognition and respect. For the first time, Elara felt truly seen, truly accepted, and truly alive. As night fell once more, Kaelin led her to a cliff overlooking the forest. The moon bathed the land in silver, and the wind carried scents of pine, earth, and freedom. He stood beside her, their shoulders brushing, their hands almost touching. Elara looked down at the pack below. 25 wolves, their eyes gleaming, their bodies relaxed but alert. They had become her guardians, her companions, her family. And beside her, Kaelin, the widowed king who had returned to life's possibilities despite his own grief, offered her something she had not dared hope for, a chance at love, at partnership, at new beginnings. The silence was broken by a distant howl, faint yet clear, a reminder that the world beyond the cliff was never fully safe. Elara felt her heart quicken, a mixture of fear and excitement. Challenges would come, she knew, but she also knew she could face them now, She was no longer alone. She had Kalen, she had the pack, and she had the strength she had rediscovered within herself. Kalen turned to her, his eyes reflecting the moonlight. "Whatever comes," he said, "we face it together. No shadows can stand against us." Ilara nodded, and a smile, hesitant yet sincere, curved her lips. "Together," she echoed. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying the promise of trials yet to come, of adventures beyond the horizon, and of a love that had grown from grief and ashes into something enduring, fierce and beautiful. For the first time in a long time, Ilara believed in hope. For the first time, she believed in herself. And as the moonlight bathed the forest and the pack moved around them, she realized that her story was no longer one of loss or curse. It was one of redemption, courage, and awakening. The howl came again, louder this time, echoing across the forest like a challenge. Kalen's hand found hers, fingers entwining, and the wolves at their feet growled softly, alert but calm. Together they faced the unknown. Together they would rise. The night was far from over, but Ilara no longer feared it. With Kalen at her side and the pack around them, she knew she was ready for whatever the darkness might bring, and that perhaps, even in the shadows, light and love could thrive.